Words can't quite express my sheer, unadulterated fucking hatred for Google Chrome. It is an utterly useless fucking browser. I hate it. Me, my father, you are poorer than poor. Well, hello everybody and welcome into this Tuesday's entertainment news. I am Jonathan, here to discuss all of the latest happenings in the world of Hollywood, specifically today, because there is no entertainment news which is not pertinent to movies. Not in this particular day that I wish to discuss. There is no music news, unless you want to speak about Ed Sheeran discussing the trials and tribulations of AI, and I don't want to hear Ed Sheeran discussing anything really, let alone artificial intelligence. And there's no video game news either. Well, I mean, I didn't check today, to be fair. This is all regurgitated news from yesterday, and a show that I was supposed to do yesterday, but failed to turn up, just like the Beatles did in Manila, I think it was, probably about 50 years ago. But let I digress, I'm here now, and if you have potentially come in, or you're coming in after the fact and have clicked on it, then you'll know I'm talking about Barbie. Now, this is a movie I've not yet seen, and I don't know if I'm ever going to see it in a theatre. I may wait to this one. It's sort of VOD, video on demand streaming, is the other word that most people would use. I'm not entirely sure this is a movie aimed at my demographic. I'm not entirely sure this is a movie for me. But I tell you, that's neither here nor there when you look at the truly wondrous box office performance that it's currently producing. Crossed $1 billion over the weekend. It has made history, I do believe, with Greta Gerwig, the other female director. I'm just going to quickly search up Box Office Mojo because I want to see the raw numbers. With Greta Gerwig directing the movie, obviously, and look, listen, I was going to discuss something before this. We'll come back to this. Fuck this. Come back to it. Completely forgot. I'm in excitable mood here. I'll just try to dive right into the movie news. I'm not even doing my little tribute to two sort of legendary movie figures. One's an actor, one's a director. Now, sadly, late great William Friedkin passed away over the weekend. I believe it was Friday, potentially. Obviously director of The Exorcist, The French Connection, numerous other things, did a Tales from the Crypt episode. A legendary figure in Hollywood, a real pioneering director, a guy who shook things up, changed the way films were being made in genres. Passed away at the age of 87. Sad fucking news, man. We're in this timeline now, really, with legendary figures slowly but surely starting to leave us. Lord knows there's a few still hanging around, the Mel Brooks, Clint Eastwood, who we're not going to have long with. And yeah, it's real sad news to see that William Friedkin has passed away. I was speaking about horror movies and us being in a golden era last week, over the last 10 years or so. This guy produced The Exorcist, one of the truly legendary horror movies. Scared people fucking shitless back in the 1970s, I believe it was. Or was it the 80s? I think it was 70s. It was the 70s, wasn't it? 73. It was. And obviously Mark Margolis as well. Huge Breaking Bad fan. And he played Hector Salamanca, I think it was, in that show. It was a sort of cartel leader. Old, grizzled, fucking sort of kid, knowing he was a little bit worse for wear than he actually was. Cartel leader. Had some legendary scenes in it. Flashback and current day. unbelievable actor, and sadly passed away at the age of 83. So yeah, I thought I'd do a little tribute. I forgot to do it, but I've done it now. Rest in peace to the two of them, man. It's fucking always sad when we start losing talent of that ilk. At any time, no matter the age, it's a real shame when we start losing people like that. So rest in peace to those two fucking legendary figures, the bold Mark and William. But wait, man, back to Barbie. I'm going to up the ante again here, inject some fucking excitement, enthusiasm, and that was a bit of a Debbie Downer sandwich here. I started off, I was trying to be upbeat, happy, discussing the box office, the sort of historical box office performance of Barbie. Greta Gerwig, I accidentally called her Patty Jenkins. There was a bit of a Debbie Downer sandwich in there, but I'm back. I'm speaking about Barbie. Greta Gerwig, first female directed movie to cross $1 billion at the box office. It is history making. It's genuinely impressive. It's probably the one of, if not the best promoted movies, I think, in film history. The way that they utilised this advertisement campaign, showing the colourful, upbeat, snappy nature of it, using classic songs like I'm a Barbie girl. And I mean, I remember that. It was a sort of, what's the word you call? There's a term you call it when there's songs. A sort of I can't remember. One I had a little fancy for back in the day. It was catchy. It was earworm inducing, but I would never admit it. But I've admitted it now. Just brilliant promotion of the movie. Obviously, there is a more serious story underneath. There's an undercurrent of patriarchy and shit like that, which is why I'm suggesting it's perhaps not a movie directed at me, because of course I'm part of the patriarchy, aren't I? I'm part of the problem, some might say, because I am a male. But that's neither here nor there, man. Brilliant, zany advertisement. The whole Barbenheimer thing as well, where you had two really different movies releasing on the same day, and it became a bit of an event. People were going and watching the movie, one movie, then the other movie. Didn't matter the order. And just real sort of lightning in a bottle zeitgeist moment for film, which incidentally makes the sort of news coming out about AMC theatres all the more jarring, that they are potentially filing for bankruptcy, liquidation, maybe going under. If an exhibitor, if I can speak, a theatre company of that size, coming off the back of 2 weeks of unbelievable numbers, Oppenheimer is now the most successful box office performing movie at the box office, set in World War II. I think it's topped Saving Private Ryan. If you can't build money and use that as a sort of fucking springboard to stability in your company, coming off the back of those 2 weeks with Barbie, Oppenheimer, you're in the middle of the summer release slot, you've got big movies coming out shortly. If you are still staring down the barrel of liquidation and potential fucking end of times events for a company, then there is something drastically wrong with your numbers. The executive in that company have really mismanaged things drastically. And look, you could say it's AMC, it's a US company exhibitor, it's not really pertinent to here, but I'm pretty damn sure that Cineworld are in some way linked to AMC. I think it's Regal Cinemas, they are linked to Odeon. I think View is its own separate entity over here. So this has ramifications for Europe and the United Kingdom with Cineworld. If a company of that size was to bite the bullet, absolutely shocking management. We've had some big releases this year already. How in the fuck can they be in such financial sort of turbulence? Is that a word? I've used it now. It is now. That's neither here nor there. No box office success that is Barbie, man. 1,033,590,000. And let's not forget, I think that's $600. We mustn't forget the $600. The dollars look after the tens of thousands of dollars, which look after the hundreds of thousands of dollars, which then look after the millions of dollars, which subsequently build to $1 billion. Hats off to Greta Gerwig. Hats off to the movie, Margot Robbie. They really have subverted expectations with this one. I remember looking at the first images coming out from the set, and of course it was Ken, Ryan Gosling, and obviously Barbie herself, Margot Robbie, in the brightly coloured attire, sort of roller skating down the beach, or the beach side. whatever you call it. And my immediate thought was, this is too fucking silly. This is too on the nose. This is going to be a disaster. And I think I says at the time, disaster or unbelievably good. And it's turned out that it's actually, in terms of raw box office numbers anyway, an unbelievable success. And again, I know you've got the sort of the panty waiters, the Debbie Downers, going on about the undercurrent of anti-male sentiments, anti-patriarchy, injecting the sort of political element into film. But I can't really criticise the movie, that aside, because I fucking do hate that. I can't really, and I'm going to get into something else about it in a moment, which I find fascinating, and I will watch this movie at some point. I can't really get into that and you know, I stamp my heels like fucking Randy Watson from Sexual Chocolate, from Coming to America, being a sort of hissy fit, and then like a week later complain that Hollywood aren't doing anything original, that there's no originality in film anymore, that they're doing remakes, and it's shit remakes at that, and it's just all superficial bollocks that's been made. I can't fucking criticise this movie then a week later contradict myself. This is something original from Greta Gerwig. This is something original from Christopher Nolan with Oppenheimer. I think this should be celebrated. Two different films, original ideas, making money at the box office in 2023 should be celebrated, man. And it's great to see it has got a zeitgeist. It's got people going to the theatres. People who normally wouldn't go to the theatres are going to the theatres to see this fucking movie. That's great for business. It's great for the exhibitors. It's great for the filmmakers. It's great for the industry. And fucking hats off to it, man. But look, I'm sadly going to have to do this absolute fucking idiocy, because we have got the piranhas circling the channel just now, doing their absolute best to shut the whole operation down. We have to operate on a very precarious fucking line here, and that means, and I'm just looking, and is that real time? Yeah, I'm looking at, there's two versions of myself in front of me. One's in real time. I'm going to switch that off because it's put me off. The other one is not. It's about 20 seconds behind. Very precarious position we're in, so I'm going to have to use quotes on the screen instead of actually bringing up the website. Screen Rant in this case. Regarding Greta Gerwig's collaboration with Peter Weir, I believe, of The Truman Show fame, the man who directed The Truman Show. His name is Peter Weir. I'm pretty fucking sure it is. I'm pretty sure I read that there. I never did get the director's name, but I do love The Truman Show. One of the very best original movies. Look, she was speaking with him anyway, and he offered this advice to her in regards to creating an artificial feeling set and doing it on a scale which is perhaps not conducive to indoor studio working. And this is what he had to say to her. This was the advice that he gave. Well, this is Greta Gerwig speaking about the sort of phone call discussions she had with him and the advice he imparted on her. He was so generous. Getting on, this is a very long quote, getting on the phone with me, I had this, and I've split it in two here, I'm aware of that. I had this idea of making Barbie Land, basically an interior soundstage world. That was the concept, but as big as sound stages are, they're not the world. They're going to be small. You can only hang the lights so high. There's obviously parts of his movie that are done on a stage, but then there are other parts of it that can't possibly be on a stage because it's too big. But it feels like on a stage, you know. Why does it feel like it's on a stage? He explained to me they did shoot a lot of it outside in this community in Florida, but they hung big stage lighting everywhere, so it would look lit even though it was outside. And then he said it made everything like 120 degrees, and that he did not suggest that. He was like, I wouldn't do that. It works, but you might want to avoid making a place that's hotter. And it's at this point I'm going to bring up quote number 2, because it's an unbelievably long fucking quote, and I have had to copy and paste it right into OBS, well, into Photoshop, then into OBS. In my experience, directors are so generous speaking about what they've done and how they did it and what were the problems, because you're only ever on your own movie, and movies are hard, and they always feel completely unlikely and completely impossible, but in a new way that the other one wasn't. Whatever lessons you learned on that last one, you can apply some of them, but it's going to be a new set of issues. And other directors want to give you the knowledge that they have gotten, but they can't use anymore because they've already made that movie. I had the same experience when I was making Little Women. Steven Spielberg was incredibly generous with me because he had made Lincoln, which took place in the same year. He opened up all of his research, all the lighting diagrams that he did with his cinematographer. He was like, here's how we did it. But he just showed me absolutely everything. Even though we're only ever in our own dream of your own movie, there's a camaraderie in the loneliness. I just thought that was really interesting, man. I thought the concept... What the fuck have I just switched off? I thought the concept of Greta Gerwig being able to jump on the phone to Peter Weir, to be able to jump the phone to Steven Spielberg, and I'm still hoping it's Peter Weir, incidentally. I fucking hope it is, man. Peter Weir, it is, thank God. And just pick their brains. And it is an open book. They are willing to share their trials and tribulations on their set, the wisdom that they have. They're willing to impart it. It's not a contest. It's not a fuck you, I'm alright, Jack, I hope you die and I hope your movie dies with you. They're willing to impart the wisdom, to share the love, to make the art of cinema greater across the board, if you'd like. And just the concept, what I took from that, the concept of her drawing inspiration from The Truman Show, which of course is a similar vein. It's a sort of world within a world where you've got the protagonist living in this make-believe world, and then there's a eureka moment and they're shook to their core and they have to come out. I know that's the general sort of vibe of Barbie. I've seen enough to know that's what happens. She comes out of Barbie Land, I think, or world, into the real world, sees the way that men are acting in the real world. Also, there's a side story of little kids playing with Barbies and how that's impacting on the Barbies in the world, and that's just, there's vibes of Truman Show in there. And I love the fact that even in this day and age, where you feel like there is no limit to remakes, there's no limit to sort of unoriginal fucking ideas and just, yeah, quasi-sequels, that we have got someone like Greta Gerwig out there trying to do something fucking different and getting the help from people like Peter Weir, who are willing to share little echoes of their movie to impart it into their movie, if you like. There's a lot of levels, a lot of movies getting used. Needless to say, my one takeaway is $1 billion gross, man. It's an original idea. I applaud Greta Gerwig, I applaud Margot Robbie for taking the plunge and doing this role, because I'm pretty damn sure people were cranking their necks when she made the decision to portray Barbie. It's not a career choice you would have expected Margot to do after the likes of The Wolf of Wall Street and obviously Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and I, Tonya. It's not the kind of movie that immediately springs to mind. She's seen something inspiring in the script, so did Ryan Gosling. And obviously, Greta Gerwig has brainchilded this script on some fucking level. I don't know if she wrote it, she was a sort of co-writer. And ultimately, you've got to commend it. Another thing you've got to commend, though, is the Meg 2. For entirely different reasons. But it's a fucking shark movie. What do you want from it? And this is what I'm going to get into here. It has scored less than 38%. It scored 38% less in terms of box office numbers than its sort of original counterpart, The Meg. Or just Meg. I think it was The Meg that was called back then. And it has got 0% on Rotten Tomatoes. I think I may be doing it a disservice here. I'm going to search that up as well. What is the Meg 2's Rotten Tomatoes score? But there's something celebratory to take from this movie. 28% on Rotten Tomatoes. And again, you see that disconnect between the critiques and the sort of average Joe going to see the movie in the theatre. 500 plus verified reviews on Rotten Tomato, 72% rating from the audience, 28% from the tomato meter, which is obviously indicative of the critics' rating score for the movie. This is not a movie that is going to resonate with your average film critique. They are more interested in watching the likes of Barbie, Oppenheimer, sort of human condition stories. They do not lust for sequels to shark movies starring Jason Statham. So you always have to take that with a pinch of salt and remember this is not a movie for them. I'm not entirely sure. That being said, this is a movie for even me. I watched The Meg back in the day. I drew some sort of enjoyment from it. It was a slightly different take on a shark movie. It is a genre, a sub-genre, which is slightly overdone. We really only needed Jaws. We never needed anything else after that. We certainly didn't need fucking Jaws 5, whatever it was, Sharknado, where you've got self-aware sharks hunting people across the globe looking for vengeance. That's a step too far. We really could have fucking drawn the line at Jaws and left it there. But the Meg was fine. It was watchable. Statham was Statham. He's playing his sort of action man fucking type role that he does all the time. If you've seen one of his movies, you've usually seen them all. Out with the Guy Ritchie stuff in the early days, and obviously some other work he's done, but there's mostly it's the sort of fucking action star stuff that he does. Larger than life, Dwayne Johnson light. I always view him as being the Sly Stallone to Johnson's Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I have to stress none of them are on that level. They're both B grade, and compared to those two brilliant actors that came before them. But look, what can you say, man? The Meg 2, man, I mean, it is what it is. They've done a sequel. They've also found some sort of fucking loophole in the script of the original to bring this back. If there may be multiple fucking Megs in this, Megalodons I think they're called, big fucking sharks. I don't know how they've brainchilded this movie. It has come out and people are defending it, and I have to say, I put sinks in semi-commas. I don't think that is I think it's apostrophe, but you know what I mean, I've highlighted sinks because if you go to another publication, and have to say these mics are up very high, so see if I'm doing that, I'm just breathing in normal. I may sound like Darth Vader at the end of the Return of the Jedi, but I can't stress enough, I've not got a breathing problem, I've not got bronchitis, I've not got asthma, I'm not my last legs, it's just very fucking sensitive. And then to add on to that, as I've said the last time I did a solo show, there's no fewer than 3 equalisers applied to this vocal, and a noise gate and a compressor, so it is going to boost certain frequencies, and I wish I could get rid of some of them, but I've got no desire to sound like I'm doing this show from a fucking Coca-Cola can. Where was I? Yeah, I've put it in commas because you go to another publication and it's a completely different fucking outlook. Yes, it's performed less than the original, which probably performed above expectations for a Jason Statham shark movie, but it still knocked Oppenheimer off of the number 2 perch in the United States at the box office. This was the number 2 movie over the weekend in the United States, maybe even in North America as an entirety. So whilst it scored 38% less than the 2018 OG, it has still done fucking good numbers, man. It's made decent numbers. It may not be at the projected numbers, but for a sequel that no one really was crying out for, and even now I'm bamboozled they have fucking released, you've got to respect it. It's made money. Significantly short the $45.4 million debut. It's opened with $28 million. This isn't an environment, box office wise, where you've got Barbie grossing north of $1 billion. You've got a Christopher Nolan epic doing very good numbers. I actually don't know the raw numbers of Oppenheimer. I may actually have to go in and look at that as well. I'm doing a lot of fucking... Yeah, again, bring me that up, please. You brought it up there, thank you very much. Mojo, that's the one. It's real competition. That's what I'm trying to say here. There is, I mean, north of $500 million, Oppenheimer. That's extraordinary numbers. Extraordinary numbers. That must be knocking on one of the best performing Christopher Nolan movies ever. I mean, I know the Batman stuff was right up there, The Dark Knight Rises. I'd love to find out, how that stacks against other Christopher Nolan movies. And I've got no real way of making that happen. But needless to say, that's fucking extraordinary figures. So the Meg 2 is releasing in this environment where you've got a movie grossing north of $1 billion and its nearest competitor grossing well north of $500 million. So it's a real tough environment to come into and try and make a movie succeed. So for it to gross $28 million and elbow Oppenheimer out for one weekend, hats off to it. Hats off to the Meg 2. Hats off to Jason Statham and everyone else involved with the movie. And along a similar vein to that, we have got a bit of blowback regarding the Meg 2 and its Rotten Tomatoes score. And I'm going to endeavour to bring some of these quotes up here, and I've lost the fucking plot. I think this is one. I don't know the context of this, man. It's this quote here, because I'm reading off the browser, but the quote's there for anyone watching's eyes, if you'd like. And I love the fact the little emojis posted look sharp to me. Anyway, I don't know who this is from, but someone said this regarding the Meg 2, despite critics trying to bury it. The Meg 2 earned $142 million it earned, I should say. That's fucking huge. $142 million. What was the $28 million? Was that opening night? Is this the entire run across international markets as well? That's fucking really good numbers for a sequel to a relatively average shark movie from 2018. I think you've got to doff your fucking hat here. I'm not going to do it, but you've got to doff the hat and say, oh, well done. The box office is really buzzing just now. Theatre companies should be doing really good business just now. And again, I'm going to go back to AMC. How, in the name of sweet baby Jesus, have AMC got themselves into such a sticky wicket that not even they can get themselves out of it in this environment where there's fucking 3 movies doing unbelievable business? Bang, 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 one after the other. 2-week period. You're talking $2 billion grossed. Worldwide, of course. Still, how the fuck are AMC in that position where they're potentially going out of business? That is chronically bad management. Just chronically bad management. Unbelievable mismanagement of that company. Disgraceful. Sack the fucking CEO. Get someone in who's competent and knows what they're doing. But I digress. Earned $142 million on its opening weekend. That's with a 0% Rotten Tomato score. It's not, it's 28%. He's talking shite. Hyperbolic nonsense. And headlines saying that would end it. That would end it. Also the 0% Rotten Tomato score. I'd personally take the Meg versus Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or the Marvel nostalgia bait hero slot being served up these days. Again, it's semi-original, isn't it? It's an original concept. It's a sharp movie. I know it's been done to the fucking death, but they're trying to do something different within the genre. And again, you can't really sit here and slag off unoriginal filmmaking from Hollywood, and then when they do something original, fucking slag it off because it's, you know, it's painted by numbers sharp movie. Because it's not, I mean, I've not seen it. It may not be. So I'm sitting here talking shit. Here's another quote. The real reason the Meg 2 premiered with a Rotten Tomato score of 0, it didn't. It's got 28%. What are you fucking talking about? HMAC22. You're dribbling piss. It's because they made the shark too cute. It's a head tilt moment. You get out. Like a dog head tilt. You're telling me I'm not supposed to root for this little cutie? Okay. And I actually pasted that quote in, and I felt that was necessary. This one as well. No one, I actually have to read this from here. Where the fuck is that? No one is going to see the Meg 2 for Oscar level performances. We just want to see the giant fucking shark. Okay, I'll see it twice. Fair play to you, my man. He's absolutely right though, isn't he? You don't go and see a movie like this for sort of emotive human condition stuff. You go and watch a gigantic shark eating people and then getting its comeuppance at the end with the sort of luscious, non-visible, bald locks of Jason Statham taking it down and giving it a slap. That's what you go to see these movies for. It's popcorn, flick, material. There's a place for everything. This is what I'm stressing, man, about cinema today. When you have panty wetters like Meg Ryan, panty wetters like Martin Scorsese, I fucking love him, but you're still a panty wetter. Francis Ford Coppola, Stephen Dorff. There's a strange fucking group of people. Meg Ryan, Martin Scorsese, Francis Ford Coppola, and Stephen Dorff. Who? Together. Bitching about Marvel killing cinema. There's no originality. It's theme park movies, amusement park fucking ride movies. What have you got to say about this, bitches? 3 distinctly different movies. Not one of them fucking superhero. Out in the theatres, making good money. You know why people are going to watch it? Because it's fucking good, man. It's compelling. Make good movies. Perform to a standard and someone will watch it. Stop churning out pissy 30-year-old style rom-com movies that no one gives a fuck about. Stop pissing out shitty Z-list performance movies that go straight to Amazon Prime's bargain fucking basement, bucket, whatever, and expect people to go and watch it. You've got to produce good content. Stop making 3-hour fucking gangster movies that go straight to Netflix and expect people to love it universally. Just make a movie, Francis, for fuck's sake. It's that simple. But what I digress, man. I'm moving on. Topic number 3. I think I'm doing 4 tonight. Timothy Olyphant. He's reflecting. Have I even got this up? I have. Love how they say Star Wars actor. He's not a Star Wars actor, Timothy Olyphant. He starred in The Mandalorian. That does not make him a Star Wars actor. He is an actor. He starred in Tarantino movies. He is a fine thespian. Don't fucking brandish him with Star Wars as if he's some 2-bit fucking helmet bashing Star Wars actor. This guy is an established name. He's a great actor. But he starred in a memorable role in a Star Wars project. Oh, I digress. He's been out recalling his auditions for Tony Stark in the MCU all the way back in 2007. I would have thought, and how he subsequently lost it to Robert Downey Jr. Interactions with Jon Favreau, and just the process of getting into this character, and where obviously it led thereafter. And again, I'm going to bring up the quotes. I'm going to endeavour to bring the quotes up. Endeavour's my favourite word just now, incidentally. Can you tell? This is what I had to say, Timothy. I can only tell you that I remember, this is with the playlist, incidentally, opening up about the process of auditioning for the MCU's Iron Man. He had this to say. I can only tell you that I remember thinking that was the first time where, because I'm a bit of a slow learner and I think I was scared to death of the things that come with success in this business. But that was a time where I remember thinking, oh, I can't get any more grounded. And so auditioning for Iron Man would be fun. I think prior to that, I was like, oh, and I don't want those kind of problems. I think part of that appeal was the conversations that I had with Favreau. I just have a tremendous amount of respect for him, and I just like the guy. He's just a good dude. And he loves his food as well, John, which is something close to my heart. That show he does, where he goes round various kitchens around the world, I believe, and cooks food. Not only is he a great writer, a great director, a fucking good actor as well, it has to be said, but he's a fine chef. He's quite a good cook. And anyone that's loving of their food, their cuisine, is the type of guy I can get on board with. That's neither here nor there, though. Where am I at? He's just a good dude. I have to change the quote up. Boom, boom. Just a good dude. And so if you're going down that road, you're not going to find anyone better to go down it with. So I have fond memories of that experience. You know, I try to see things simply for what they are and not what they could be. And any conversations I had with John about the job and about that process, I remember it very fondly. It was an enjoyable process, and well, he's the one who hired me for The Mandalorian, so he doesn't owe me anything. I just thought that was very interesting. I actually wasn't aware that Timothy had auditioned for the role of Tony Stark. I think there was a lot of talk of Tom Cruise potentially being in line for an Iron Man role. I don't know if it was way back in 2007, but certainly there was talk of Tom Cruise being linked with the role in some way. But it just cast my mind back really to other sort of brilliant roles that we've seen over the course of the last 30, 40 years. The ones that spring to mind right away are Harrison Ford's Han Solo. I think Christopher Walken, Kurt Russell were up for that role. Could you imagine how different that role would have been with those two guys acting? It would have been a completely different story, a completely different vibe, different performance. Would we have loved the sort of roguish, scruffy-looking nerf herder quite as much as we'd do if any one of them had went in? Could you imagine Christopher Walken trying to do Han Solo? Who's scruffy-looking? I can't do Walken. That was dreadful. I can do Grace Randolph, who's like a female version of Christopher Walken. Hey! Who's scruffy-looking? Just kind of robotic. Almost AI. See if Grace Randolph was replaced with a fucking AI version of herself, no one would blink an eyelid. They wouldn't even notice. The voice is like computer generated already. And she kind of chats that much shit really about film that you really wouldn't notice either. You'd be like, yeah, that's AI. But yeah, imagine how different that role would have been. Obviously Harrison Ford's Indiana Jones as well. Tom Selleck was linked with that role. And I'm sure there's other ones off the top of my head I'm not thinking of. Fucking Nick Cage was nearly Superman at one point. There's so many sort of famous roles over the last, Marty McFly, Michael J. Fox, I think it was your man. I've blanked his name, I always do. May have been Frank or something. Had a slightly German name. He also shot a good chunk of the movie. Obviously, your man, whose name I'm also blanking on, how the fuck do you blank on the director of Back to the Future? What is going on here? But obviously, he decided he didn't like the vibe of that performance, and we get Michael J. Fox in. Completely different. You're making a whole trilogy from that one decision, an iconic trilogy. Why am I blanking that name? That's annoying me. Robert Zemeckis. Fucking hell. Call yourself a film fan, John. So I just found it interesting that how you have these little moments in history where things can go one way or the other. Timothy Olyphant could have potentially played Tony Stark. I personally don't think that was ever a possibility, because in my mind I always viewed the decision by Jon Favreau to bring his good friend Robert Downey Jr., who was in a downward sort of ebb at that point, obviously with the drug problems and stuff like that. He went off a cliff. It was always his intention to offer him to obviously put out the olive branch, give him a chance to redeem his career. And when you think of Iron Man, you think of Tony Stark, you're just synonymous with Robert Downey Jr. at this point. I couldn't imagine any other actor on the planet portraying that character. He's just perfect for it. It's like an extension of himself. And as good as an actor, or as good of an actor as Timothy Olyphant is, he's not Robert Downey Jr., is he? It's just, I think the right decision was made in the end. But yeah, found it interesting little quote, him reflecting. He doesn't hold any grudges. He did get gave the role as that sort of outlaw figure whose name eludes me from The Mandalorian. He's a cool character, and he's a brilliant actor. He's went on to have real success in Hollywood despite that moment. Obviously Christopher Walken was the same, Tom Selleck was the same, Kurt Russell definitely the same. Some roles are just not made for you, man. It's not meant to be. In the end, I'm moving on, continuing in the Star Wars vibe, the theme. Ahsoka Tano. Wet the sort of throat, because the throat is getting ready to go off a fucking cliff, to be quite frank. I found this very interesting. Me and Stephen discussed this last show we did together. Could we see, I think it was, I'm paraphrasing, Hayden Christensen making a return in Ahsoka, and indeed the Mandalorian movie that's set to come out? I think James Mangold is directing it. Could we see him making another triumphant return to Star Wars? Is this the era of redeeming Hayden Christensen in a Star Wars sense? We discussed it at length. We spoke about possibilities and how he's a brilliant actor. He was wronged. He's reignited his love for Star Wars. The fandom are appreciating them more than ever. And I think that's just a natural sort of happens. I was about to say something. A natural sort of byproduct of time. The prequels were made for young people in the 90s, early 2000s. Stands to reason, since they have grown up and became adults, they have got a particular fondness for those movies. I'm one of them. I still love elements of those movies. There's elements I fucking hate. But I never hated Anakin. His lines were a bit cheesy, but I thought Hayden done a brilliant job with what he had. You can only piss with the you-know-what that you have, ultimately. And over the years, you form a bit of nostalgic affection for the movies, and I think that's why you're seeing this outpouring of love, because the people who the movies were made for ultimately are now the people turning up at the conventions and giving them sort of raucous welcomes. So yeah, I think it is the era of redeeming Anakin in a sort of live action sense, and giving Hayden the chance to come back and do his thing with the character. And that kind of ties in with this in a way, because and I've not got the quote in front of me, and I don't think I posted the quote into Photoshop. I didn't create a graphic for it, but really interesting. Ahsoka, it's coming from making Star Wars. I think they're usually on the fucking money when it comes to Star Wars news. Certainly they were back in the day. They're saying that the production of Ahsoka aimed to recreate Anakin and Obi-Wan's Mustafar duel, but with a key twist. And they said this: they found a sequence where Ahsoka sees herself on Mustafar fighting Hayden Christensen's Darth Vader before he's in the suit. They had a dummy for a dead Kenobi, and they had clothes for a dead Kenobi. So they had two ideas there. One is Anakin literally kills Kenobi in that fight, where the idea would be Ahsoka and Kenobi confront Darth Vader. Another is he turns into a pile of clothes just like he always did. He becomes one with the Force at that time in the narrative. I love this shit, man. I love when you get alternative looks at scenes. Even if it's just a sort of flashback, sort of what could have been. It's not a premonition, but I look back into the past of what could have happened if this happened and this fell into place. I could have been there with Obi-Wan. Things might have been different. Could I have stopped him going to the ultimate evil that he went on to go to? The amount of people that died at his hands. Could I have, in cahoots with Obi-Wan, stopped that happening? Could he have killed me? I love it when you look retrospectively at scenes, at moments in cinematic history, and you do something different with it. You see it from an alternative angle. It's why I love Back to the Future so much. The whole second movie, they essentially reshot huge swathes of it, recreated it, and it was fucking brilliant. It's why I love Endgame and Infinity. I think it's Endgame, and it's why I love Endgame. Because obviously the whole stuff they did, alternative looks at Guardians of the Galaxy, alternative looks at the Avengers movie from 2012, and just affecting change on it and seeing things from a different sort of angle. I think that a perspective, I think that is really fucking cool when it's handled correctly. And just getting back to Mustafar and seeing Hayden Christensen once again in those fucking robes with the evil eyes, hot on the heels of slicing down the Trade Federation fuckers, leaders. I'm all in for that, man. I'm all in for, and we spoke about it, me and Stephen, the dynamic of those two characters, how they can utilise Hayden Christensen in this show, and again, the way it could be brilliant, a sort of conduit for newcomers to this story to go back and watch Rebels and the Clone Wars. And this is exactly what we talked about, things like this, man, where you can utilise Hayden's acting chops, his physical presence in a live action sense, to just expand upon the Ahsoka story just a little bit, expand upon that relationship furthermore. I'm all for it, man. Looking forward to the fucking show, looking forward to Rosario Dawson giving us a great performance, seeing all these connective tissues to what's came before, seeing Dave Filoni having his dream realised, this character fully formed in their own fucking show. Feels like it's been a long time coming. She has been prominent in other TV shows, but she's never really had her show. And this is her chance to shine. A great character, memorable character, and really fucking looking forward to it, man. But look, I am done. I spoke the absolute fucking hind legs off of this for 45 minutes deep. I am done speaking, and I'm going to round it up. What's your thoughts on Barbie crossing $1 billion at the box office? Making box office history, the very first all female directed, I should say, movie to gross that number. And the box office, what's your thoughts on the movie? Have you seen it? Thoughts on it utilising elements of the great Truman Show, Greta Gerwig collabing, picking the brains off Peter Weir, and just the inclusive nature of the Directors Guild, if you like, the fraternity of directors in Hollywood and beyond. It's an open book. There's camaraderie there. They try to help each other out. They try to do the best for the art of cinema. Share your thoughts down below about that. Your thoughts about Meg 2's box office, an unsung hero at the weekend, $140 million. In the middle of Barbenheimer, still doing its thing. Thoughts on the movie in general, if you've seen that, the Rotten Tomatoes performance. Anything you feel compelled to share can go down below regarding that. Star Wars. What could have been for Iron Man? Would you have liked to have seen Timothy Olyphant's version of Tony Stark, or do you agree, like me, that Robert Downey Jr. is the man? He's always going to be the man for that character, and it's absolute blaspheming to suggest otherwise. Can you tell I love the devil all around in Robert Pattinson's Preacher? How can I be your daddy when all we've done is spend some time with the Lord? I fucking love him, man. He's great. Share your thoughts down below about Rosario Dawson's Ahsoka Tano. Anything you feel compelled to share can go down below in the comment section. It's a place to put your thoughts. You can like the video if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon to get notifications straight to your eyeballs. All that's left to be said is until next time, I am done. Bye-bye. Just furiously try to get that end screen graphic to go up.